Okay, is this on? It is on. You can hear me? Whee! Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our Nami conference, Breaking the Stigma. I thought we had a terrific morning, and I want to thank you all again for being here. Our lunch break, never mind, our introduction to our afternoon session has to do with all of the art and art therapy that we're going to become a part of and learn from this afternoon. And the first person who will be speaking is Kate Madigan, who is niece to Bonnie, and she has lengthy experience. She's a board-certified art therapist and has worked in prisons in California. Her primary modality is painting, and she is a prolific muralist. She has directed thousands of artists on hundreds of murals around the United States, as well as internationally. For the past 8 years, she has been working as an art therapist at Patton State Hospital, a large forensic hospital in San Bernardino, California, where she runs art therapy groups, directs patient exhibitions, and has painted dozens of murals with her patients. In the last few years, she has presented about art therapy in a forensic setting at various conferences around Southern California. When she is not working at Patton, she paints commissioned paintings and murals for clients. And so, in the spirit of Benjamin Snavely, we are very happy to bring to you today his cousin, Kate Madigan.
Okay. Aloha. Thank you for such a sweet, beautiful introduction. And thank you, Nami, for having this conference. It's such an honor to be here. And so sweet to have a conference and honor my cousin, who I, of course, was very close to because we're both artists. And our family is very close in general. So if you guys see tomatoes being thrown at me, it's them, because they've already told me they're ready. So I'm so excited to share what's going on with art therapy in the mainland. I'm definitely in the hub of the happenings because where I work is the largest forensic hospital, possibly in the world. Definitely in California. There's 1,500 patients on any given day, and we have over 2,000 staff. So we actually have 10 art therapists, which is super rare, I'm sure. And so it's very exciting to get to work in such a big place with all the leaders in the field, kind of. And so I'm going to talk about some of the stuff we do there at the hospital. And around there. Art therapy, I don't know if you guys know, we're still in our infancy stages because we just started as a field about 50 years ago. Carl Jung was the first person who used art with his patients or clients. And Freud, actually, his office, if you see pictures of it, there's tons of art. He took all these trips all over. His office was like a little art gallery. So they really had this nice, the clients who came in and did psychotherapy with Freud had a very creative environment in which to, process their problems. Anyway, now where I've worked, we've degenerated into doing therapy with like 50 patients all in one room. It's all sterile. Someone's, screaming down the hall. Someone's calling ice call, So it's totally gone really the other way. Obviously, We're super overcrowded. People wait in jail for about 6 months for a bed. So there's a lot of, and you guys all know, there's way too many jails and we're just building more and more of these places like what we have. And so anyway, the way it looks is all super sterile and white. We've been there since 1890, and it was in 1980s that the fence built up. When I say the fence, it means that the mental hospital became involved with legal commitment codes where people had to commit a crime to go there. So that tells a lot about the history of mental illness and how it's become so criminalized. So anyway, there's a strong link between creativity, mental illness, and criminal activity. And so art therapy is very popular where I work. And the patients, they love, we call them patients. A lot of people call their clients, but we call them patients. And they love art. They love to draw. They love to color. They love to play with clay. We do all that. You know, a lot of art therapists really are into art as just, we're not trying to turn our patients into artists. We're just offering them a variety of ways that they can self-explore, discover, critically reflect on themselves and their situations and others, and take risks, because it's actually can be really scary to make art. So, but my passion, what I'm most excited about, is sharing what we do and our little world behind the fence with the outside. And so by having art shows, by selling their art, by bringing their art out there, and also within decorating the place, the facility. So this first slide that's up is just one of our 150 murals. And so that's my thing that I love to do. And it's probably because I have a background as an artist. So, and our family's so artsy, and I just go in there and I look at the, first of all, the facility's in a desert. So sometimes, and we're in a drought, we pull up in the morning and it's like, are we open for business? This place that looks so desolate and dreary. And so, our environment really impacts the way we feel. And the way we look at the hospital as an artist is like how it connects with the whole, how one person's suffering is related to social imbalance, and how we not only can personally transform ourselves, but all of the whole hospital and the staff and the rest and society through our art. And the patients love to give back through that. So they love having their art shows. They love having us learn about their vulnerabilities and their histories and their ideologies. And there's so much learning that takes place about these people who are just so isolated and disenfranchised through their sharing of their artwork. So I love to basically educate our administration and the staff about, our patients and their needs, and the patients love it too, because in their ability to help create, where they're healing, it gives them a better sense of community. But anyway, I'll run through some slides since I could go on forever. Art is like this is a mural. It's just it's a very powerful means of learning about multicultural learning, because there's so much that's infused in the art making process and in the expression. So, and a lot of our murals, this one actually was painted over about a year ago because one staff said that there was a patient who was responding to a monkey, and it was actually because painter staff took caulk and spiraled out a monkey's eyes as like a joke. So anyway, that was just one minor story. But since then, we made an administrative directive that nobody's allowed to paint over any murals unless they have my signature. So that was like, so, because what we could have done was just fix the monkey's eyes, really. But anyway, so here's one where some of our patients, they are there to learn about the court process. They, they can't get a fair trial if they don't understand, what they're being charged with. So this mural was all about trying to educate them about the court through these, and I could go on, but there's all these little things in there, the tools that they need, and things. So this one was just, we're trying to teach them about the court stuff through the art. This one, just some of our hospitals' missions, goals in the trees, and everyone got to paint a bird, and we like to make the place look better. This is just a nice little design. Sometimes we do sand art, we do rangolis. That's something that I learned in India, and we just do, whatever. And this also shows them how nothing is permanent, impermanence of everything. And anyway, so we do use the art to just sort of teach multicultural awareness and respect each other's diversity, and just for this would be an example of art that's just for the process of making it, and we sweep it up right when it's done. And we do that a lot of times too, during like when it's in summer solstice, winter solstice, stuff like that. So a couple examples, we just do okay, so this is the first example of one of my main things that I was saying I'm so excited about is we take all the, I've been taking all the patients' art and matting them and framing them and putting them all over the administration walls, and it's been very exciting for the patients and the staff because some of the administrators, they all do actually, they've chosen them for their offices, and the patients feel so honored, and then now we're starting to sell their art, and it's made their quality of their art really skyrocket because now that they know that they're being seen and they, have to account for the messages that they're giving and why did I choose this? What do I like? I used to, what about this? They, and they're learning about everyone has a different interpretation and, to not take, and all the learning about them through the art they're loving. And the whole hospital is enjoying. As a matter of fact, they mandated this and the murals throughout all the other facilities in California. This one has a funny story because our executive director chose this for his office, and the patient who painted it is self-portrait himself behind the yellow, the person in yellow, and he has his finger pointing to heaven. But us, who aren't educated as much as we like to think, the staff, someone called me one day about after it was up a week, and he said, I think you need to come get this. I think he's giving Jesus the finger. And I was like, oh my God, sir, I'm so sorry. I'm on my way. I missed that, and then, then after that, we all looked in the history books, and that's exactly how this is painted. And all the hand motions have very, very deep significance, and his finger was pointing to heaven, and it was a very powerful, positive message about that. So we're like, I'm so sorry to the patient, because how we talk about stigma, just assume the worst, and even though we work in this field and we want to see them as their illness before their crimes, it's hard sometimes. And so here is another little good story. The woman in there is actually the victim of the patient's crime, and all these eyes and these flowers. So it was just like, a great way that he could share about his crime, his wife, who he killed, and then he went and killed his sister, and he's been there a long time, and he's a mural legend there. I've painted about a dozen murals with him. He's very talented. So this is just to show like how our hallways look now, and it's really awesome. Another one, just someone who, when the staff said, "Oh my God, that guy did this," because they would have never guessed they could have done that. I know, through myself. So some of us, we just have here's a mural in process, a farmer's market and a cafeteria. I don't know if I have it, I don't think I have the picture of that mural finished. This mural was another funny story. Make sure we painted it. The nursing station was in the middle of this big unit that had 100 beds, has 100 beds, and this is the center. And so it's the nursing station. There's about 12 computers in there, all the charts, and we painted it like a fishbowl, so like the patients were looking in on the staff, and like who's really stuck here and who's crazy. And so that was funny in and of itself. But then one of my rules on a mural, because you would get really messy, is you can't put their names in there or their initials. And one time I was cleaning up graffiti and someone had put their initial under there and she was lower functioning, and I said, we can't do that. And she said, why? Everyone else did. And in all the stripes of all the fish is all names, and everybody put their names in and I didn't notice. So anyway, that was kind of funny. So I was like, why? Everyone's so into art here. The staff was like, they weren't before. And then we realized why. So someone just enjoying their art on display. We have so much of it. And they really do art all day. It's just, they really love it. And they love all kinds. This was kind of another funny story. I wanted to paint a mural of hope in graffiti font, and they said no because that would be inappropriate. And so I argued, like, you can't criminalize a font, and they disagreed. And so they said you can paint all you want in graffiti to their heart's content on paper or canvases, just not on the walls. So we had a big art display of graffiti in there just to show. And so, it was okay in the canvases, in the frames, just not on the wall. It was kind of, and so, this patient, he has made about like 600 of these. They're all over. You find him sitting there doing these all day long. In about 5 years, he has about 600. Yeah, so he's pretty good at that. Just how our halls look. Even just a little coloring can look nice, right? The hand. Just to show another mural. So this one's more recent. Oh, this guy, a lot of prison art and hospital art's popular, this pencil style. And they do these on envelopes and then sell them for whatever, cigarettes, Starbursts, who knows what. Oh, that was all the art I brought. Okay, but let me see how much time I have. I have so many stories and so much to say. Oh, good. Okay, so I went through those fast. So basically, there's all these different ways that we do the art therapy there, and there's all these different ways to look at it. But when the title of my thing and the way that I do art therapy, called social action, is the significance of that, or the difference between that and other kind of art therapy, is that we're not just committed to making interpersonal change, but also societal change. So we use the art as like a tool for, examining our culture and creating new culture. And in this way, it's really exciting because the patients, they become leaders in social change, and they're and they grow so much through, explaining to people where they came from, what they're about, and what they think about this, and they really enjoy giving back to the community a lot. And so and not only are they, being able, so basically the art moves from being spontaneous to conceptual, from, not having an audience where they can feel more private to being public. So really thinking about that, what they're saying and, what they want the place to be like, and just really empowering by giving them this voice, and empowering in the sense that how much the other staff is learning about them, and their relationships can be much deeper through this more intimate understanding of who they are. And so that's why that's so exciting for me. And also, when we do this kind of art therapy, we're, the art becomes, it's not so biographical anymore. It's like historical, and we're basically, it's just, it's a different kind of art, because not everything can be put in a mat in a frame, right? And not everything can we put in a sale. So it's, but the patients, they really like it, because it's, they don't really like to get too deep into their stuff all the time anyway. It's more easier on a one-on-one, but in the group, it's really hard. Where we have our groups, maybe everyone will go to bingo, of course, but out of about, on my whole building, 300 people, I'll get about 5 people in AA. So it's not mandatory. It's, so that's sad, but trying to meet them where they're at, what do they like? If it's a coloring contest that'll get them to color, then, so we have, I don't know if I put any in here, but plenty of the pictures that are in mats and frames are pictures from coloring books. And, thinking that everything is interrelated. The way that we treat the environment, it reflects the way that we treat the patients. And our environment impacts us so much. So when when it's, and this is what we were trying to tell administration a lot, that when we have drab white walls all over, it makes us feel alienated and isolated, and it's depressing, and it fosters passivity. And by bringing art around, and beauty and meaning, it brings humanity to the place. And it, basically, if places can contribute to problems like staff fatigue, low morale, because, it's so dreary, they can contribute to the solution too. And so we've really gotten through with that, and that's really exciting. So, the art has really dislodged a lot of arrogance, certainty, conformity, normality. It makes the staff basically see that there's whole worlds around them that they didn't even know, or that there's who they thought they knew they didn't. And it's been very exciting. The art has it's just really blossomed since we started putting it all over. But the murals have been there for a while, but they're just all over now. We have like a limit, and we've definitely probably gone over it in terms of the amount of space allotted to murals. And so, what else can I say? So the art that they do, they basically, so we have these shows, and even in we made a history museum a couple years ago at Patton. Like I said, we're from 1890, so a lot of our art is in that museum, and so it's really exciting to share it with the people outside of Patton, not just the staff, not just administration. We also have an annual show at a local museum once a year, and that is really a great way to share with people, that there's so much more to our patients than their crimes or their illnesses. And I think that art is a particularly powerful way to break stigma for mental illness because it opens up a dialogue, and the patients think so too, and their voices get to be heard, and it gives them a whole new identity, a new label. And the artists at my hospital, and this is true for prisons and stuff, they're a little bit of an elevated status than the other patients because they have this skill. And so it's very cool to be an artist at this place I work at for the patients. And like the first speaker was saying, schizophrenia and other mental illness, it's hard for people to make connections. So one of the biggest benefits of doing this is that they are connecting with others, whether in the group or through sharing it, connecting with others, and whether through just opening up or going and hanging out with other people that do art. And that's one of the hugest benefits of doing it. And another thing that someone else was saying earlier about 90%, I thought that statistic was shocking, that 90% of people are healable if they have a supportive community. We have like 90% of our people come back who get out. So that just shows how non-supportive of a community or they went back to, or maybe that we need to take a look at how we're treating them and if it's supportive enough. And I was just thinking that about my family and how supportive we are and how educated we are. And I think mental illness affects everybody in that, and substance abuse. And about 90% of our patients have a dual disorder and most crimes were substance related. They were high when they went off and committed their crimes. So, and there is a large amount of them that, make Pruno, which I don't know if you know what that is, or sell their pills to each other, and so there's a lot of that. But so substance abuse is a huge issue, obviously, with this clientele too. But so what I was saying is that, my family were so supportive, and everyone is so, and you guys are, and in learning all this and being here, but I don't know if that's, it just takes so much. And no matter how educated you are and willing to do anything and everything and have everything available to help, it's so tricky, and it's a lot to, it's not, I don't know about that 90%, but I think that such a great thing that you guys are here, and that Nami, places like Nami, it's so important. There's so many people that are family members of my patients who belong to Nami and get support from Nami, and places like this, and who understand how much support the families need, because it's so much work, and like my aunt was saying earlier this morning, if somebody has cancer, then we'd be, you don't blame them. But when somebody, with a substance abuse problem and a mental illness, we think there's so much blaming going around. The people with the mental illness, like, you guys stressed me out so much, that's why I do this, or whatever. And then B, with the family of like, well, if that person just could have just done this. And the patients, they think that same way too. Maybe if I wouldn't have had that high stress job, I wouldn't have started hearing voices. But if it wasn't that, it would have been something else. And so there's still so much educating that needs to happen, even with the people in my field, and even with with us. So having these conferences and stuff, this is so important. and so helpful. And I think that the art is in that same way because it's such an easy doorway. It's such a great bridge. And so that's what I'm most excited about with art therapy, and that's sort of what social action art therapy is. It's not just doing art to color, not just keeping the patients busy and out of trouble, not just, draw your favorite hopeful place that, so you have these new visions like a place of hope, but asking them, who are they as like conveyors of, socially, of significant meanings. And, not only asking them that, but asking our facility or asking our society, like, what do we stand for? Our stupendous ability to punish them or our vast creativity and what's important, and so basically, that's why I like to come to these. That's why I'm so excited to be here and just promote how important art is. I don't think of it like the cherry on the cake that the patients get to do on top of the other important stuff, like meds, which is very important. But I think of it more like the yeast that helps them grow. And without it, they wouldn't, for a lot of them, not that they're all into art, but for a lot of them, it's super important. But that's me because I'm an artist, so anyway, that's it. Okay, one, two, three.
Hi. Hello, I'm Kumi MacDonald, and I am the Executive Director of Nami Hawaii. And I just want everyone, if you're able, to stand up. Let's do a little stretching for the afternoon, get some blood flowing, because we're going to do some awesome art in a little bit. And I just want you to make sure that you're not falling asleep. Stretch to the left, stretch to the right, and have a seat. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I just wanted to start off by letting everyone know how grateful I really am. This conference was a collective collaboration. It was just so well orchestrated. We were having difficulty finding a venue, and then Queens came about, and the art therapists and the speakers and the committee and the volunteers, we just all somehow were brought together. So I am just so grateful that all of you could be a part of our second annual NAMI conference. So I wanted to just share with you what NAMI Hawaii is all about. NAMI is a grassroots state organization of National Alliance on Mental Illness. So NAMI is all over America. There's one in every state and many in every major city. And so we have 3 affiliates. We have one on the Big Island, we have one on Kauai, and one in Maui. And we also have services here on Oahu. And we provide free support, education, and programs, and advocate for individuals living with mental illness and their families who support them. And just like the other speakers were saying, that it's so important that we support people who are living in recovery. And that's where NAMI comes in. NAMI comes in and we provide support and education for the family members. One of our key programs is Family to Family Education, which is a 12-week comprehensive class. And I personally took the class because my family lives in recovery from mental illness. And so I learned how to communicate, how to problem solve, the basics of brain biology, the basics on medication, how to talk to my doctor, how to find a social worker, how to advocate for them, how to promote recovery and wellness. And so this class is a 12-week comprehensive course, free, but you do need to register. So that's one of our major programs. The other one is family support groups that meet all around the island and in the neighbor islands. And those support groups meet all different times, but once a month, to give family support. And they share each other's stories, their personal experiences, and give each other encouragement. And so those are all over the island. We also have Women on Wellness. We have Marianne over there. Wave your hand. So she leads our women's mental health support group. It's called Women on Wellness, and it's for all women because we all live with the goal of having mental health. Every one of us wants mental health, correct? And so we have Women on Wellness. We have Nami on Campus, which is a Nami-led campus club. They have one on the University of Hawaii, they have one on University West Oahu, and there's one at Kapiolani Community College. And those are like campus clubs that promote awareness, bring peer support, and how to connect students to the right services on their campus, and as well as connect them to NAMI. So there's a lot of other programs, and every single program we provide is free. And so we really want to encourage everyone to be come and join us for our events. We have some wonderful upcoming events, such as the Minority Mental Health Breakfast on July 30th. We have also the NAMI Walk coming up on October 8th, and that's where we, all of us, coming together to walk and represent our community, our loved ones, or represent for ourselves and say, hey, I live in recovery from depression, and I go and walk for myself. I go to represent my family. You can go and represent your community, your church, your business. And so we have the NAMI Walk coming up, and I want everyone to say, save the date, October 8th. We're going to say it in unison. So 1, 2, 3. Save the date, October 8th. Easy to remember, right? So we're all going to be there, and it's a free event. It's going to be fun. And people say, I can't walk a lot. Well, it's a 1.5 mile walk twice. And if you can't do the 1.5 mile, you can cut through the grass and get back to the start. So it's not that hard to do, but it's a lot of fun. We're going to have music and entertainment and things for our pets. We're going to have things for our kids. And we're just going to have a great time to show our support that we support mental health. Sorry, I pushed the wrong one. There we go. There we go. So you are also all invited to our Team Captains Kickoff, and that's going to be where we're going to gather at. We're going to gather on October. RSVPs by July 26th, but August 2nd, we're going to have our Team Captains Kickoff at Parish of St. Clement, and it's going to be a free dinner. We're going to teach you how to get your community involved in NAMI Walks. And people, I don't want to go and ask people for money. Can you send a click email? Yes. Can you click it and put it on Facebook? Yes. There you go. You've done it. And you can get people to join your team. You can get people to donate and support. And it's a really fun event where we're going to have some prizes. We're going to have a free dinner. And we're going to give you fun tips on how to get NAMI Walks into your community, into your school, into your workplace. So we want you to join us. You do need to register for that. And so we want to encourage every one of you to come and be a part of NAMI, to become a member. There's a membership form, and on the back of that is the conference evaluation form. Now, if the conference center has been so generous, they have actually filmed and videotaped this whole conference, and we're a test run, so we're not sure it worked properly, but if all goes well and you'd like a link to that video clip of this conference to share with your friends, or if you want more information about our NAMI Walk, or you want to be a part of the Team Captains Kickoff, or you want to come to the Minority Mental Health Breakfast, or if you want any of the PowerPoints done by the presentations, please put a comment on the conference evaluation form on the very bottom. Write your name, email, phone number, and what you're interested in receiving, and I will personally follow up to make sure that is given to you. We also have a list of all of our programs, and you can find more of our programs on namihawaii.org. And then this is also the invitation, the very back page for our NAMI Walks Hawaii Team Captains Kickoff. So we want to see you there. Once again, everybody, save the date. Great. Thank you very much. Okay, now, sorry, I have to introduce our final speakers. So, we're so privileged to have everyone who came and spoke with us, but we are very honored. I'd like to introduce Nidhi Chabora and NJ Moses. Nidhi is an advanced practice nurse with prescriptive authority with over 20 years experience, and she works for Care Hawaii Inc. at Hilo, Big Island, and she works in partnership with NJ Moses, who's been an art teacher for 37 years, and they are the nonprofit called Self-Discovery Through Art. So let's welcome them. Okay, so just this button to click forward.
Welcome, everyone. So how many of you are curious about this claim, art as medicine? Several hands, yes. Over the years, as NP, as nurse practitioner, I observed how medication for anxiety, depression, PTSD, and substance use disorders brought some relief for the patients. Yes, it helped with the depression. Yes, it took away some of the anxiety. Yes, they were able to engage in their substance abuse treatment. And some of them were even able to complete the activities of daily living that we all take for granted. What was missing, however, was that awakening to the possibility that they could be anything more. My interest in the healing art, as our previous speaker has talked about, I found Sean McNiff's book called Art as Medicine. And then I was hooked, and NJ walked into my life. NJ is an art teacher with 37 years of teaching experience. From 2009, she and I worked on several ideas, and finally, we formulated sessions that engaged participants in creative problem solving, moving away from over-reliance on talk therapy to symbolic and non-verbal expressions during the course of each session. We call this program Self-Discovery Through Art, and it is really cognitive behavior therapy enhanced by a studio art experience. As the previous speaker has demonstrated with her slides and talked so passionately about her experience at the state hospital, it's a very powerful, art engagement is a very powerful way of acquiring self-knowledge. Why? And here's the answer to art as medicine. It engages the imagination, the senses, especially visual and tactile, along with our thoughts and feelings of anybody who participates in art making, all for our wellness. The focus is on this visual thinking that's revealed during this activity, and the whole person is present and aware of what is coming up for them. The significance of this kind of immediate experiential learning in our sessions cannot be understated in the healing of anxiety and mood disorders, post-traumatic stress disorders, substance use disorders, and chronic illnesses such as pain syndromes. I hope I've given you some sort of an answer to why Sean McNiff said art is medicine. Was I successful in convincing some of you here? Okay, that's a good start. We'll go on. This is our art gallery on the Big Island called the Wailoa Arts and Cultural Center.
In 2013, Nidhi and I self-funded the artwork that was displayed in the entire gallery under Self-Discovery Through Art. We used her, not patients, not clients, but her participants to do the artwork. They were so proud. They were out in the community. We didn't necessarily put their name on their work, but they had leis and they walked around and showed off what they had done. The people who visited the show, and I believe there were 800 or more community members, it was there for the month of May, Mental
Health Awareness Month,
said in the guest book, "This is our shared humanity." They said, "This show is so helpful and hopeful. We would like to see more of this. Where can we go to get these classes? Why don't we know more about this? Let us know more about this." The director was so impressed with the show, with our participants, with the reaction from the community, that she said, "You are welcome to come back May 2017, and we're going to be there."
And again, it's Mental Health Awareness Month 2017, and it is such an honor because it's the 50th anniversary of the Wailoa Arts Center. And she picked very special art groups for each month, and she gave us May in 2017. So that is really a validation. And when we talk about breaking the stigma, I've always believed that art is a way to normalize the lives of people who've been marginalized. Because if you're an artist and you are there proudly showing your art, you're just as good as anybody else walking through that exhibition. And that was one of the things that the participants learned about themselves too, that they didn't have to hide. They were part of the community in Hilo and the rest of the Big Island.
Let me pop this in. Because of their participation in that show, when the abstract show comes up at the Wailoa, where anyone can enter, we have had Self-Discovery Through Art participants bring their art in and have been judged along with everybody else's and got in the abstract show. We're going to do that again. It's coming up again. And they are so proud because it's not, "Oh, these people, we've got to put their art in." No, no, no. They were judged along with everyone else and made it to the show.
This is a famous quote by Georgia O'Keeffe. She kind of symbolizes everything that we want to say and do in our sessions. I found I could say things with color and shapes that I couldn't say any other way. Things I had no words for. I'm going to get a little technical here because I was trying to find out what she meant by things I had no words for. In my readings about the structures of the brain, I learned that the choice of pictures and images and color are prompted by emotion and arise from that deeper structures of the brain called the limbic system. However, the planning, the design, organization of a composition, of a montage, a collage, come from the newer part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex. I use the words planning, design, organization. Those are some of the areas that psychiatric disorders really are, we have the deficit, the biggest deficits are in that area, what we call executive functioning. In our sessions, the repeated artistic process and the focus on corrective images. So in CBT, what happens is you have a distorted way of thinking, and then somebody teaches you skills on how to correct it, right? But we illustrate that. This kind of repeated artistic process does have a lasting positive effect on the brain. And it does alter structure and function, just like CBT or some of the other psychotherapy modalities do. Why is art so popular amongst our participants? Because it's got a storytelling function, yes, but it's also fun. It's a flight of fantasy. They can take off and they can go anywhere within the structure of our session. It's an emotional release, and you've all heard of serotonin. That's one of those transmitters that's released during a state of flow where they can let themselves go. So the CBT and the structured studio art experience is really a potent example of the integration of emotions that come up from the bottom, and some of them are chaotic. However, because we create the structure, there is a top and there's a top-down regulation of those emotions, because they have to get the desired image. In order for them to get the desired image, they have to come up with some kind of an organized, planned composition. And they all leave at the end of it with some pretty close to what NJ calls the desired image. So what we are hoping that these sessions and a lot of times it's a drill, because we found that some of our patients don't even have a high school education. They may have had their first episode in their teens, and they never finished high school. So talk therapy is sometimes overwhelming for them, and they look at me blankly. But the moment we get into the art, they get it, because it's coming out of them. It's their understanding of whatever I have said, and then we can process it. So this awakening to possibility that they can be something more than just somebody with a cluster of symptoms, we hope that we can show that it does strengthen resilience, because if now I know a way to get up and move on because I've learned some changes in the way I'm thinking, hey, I can do it again and again and again. It increases self-esteem. That is something we've definitely seen. And some engagement, re-engagement in their life purpose and meaningful relationships. Any questions so far? This is one of our artist statements. I have struggled with depression all my life, scratching through the black to get to the beauty underneath in my art, as well as in my life, tells me that the darkness is only temporary. So she was able to get past that absolute, utter darkness where there was no hope, and come back and scratch her way to life. And she gave us some really beautiful pieces. This was in the show, by the way. This is from the Weiler Art Center. Who are our gurus? We have Beck and Burns and Ellis. These are our cognitive therapists that I studied. And then, of course, we have some of the art therapists that I researched, because I'm not an art therapist, but I'm just very, very interested in the healing power of art. And I found art therapy and clinical neuroscience. And Kathy Malki-Odie.
Didn't you study with her?
I did. She actually she's one of our foremost art therapists. She wrote the Art Therapy Source Book. But she's also now certifying people in trauma and the expressive arts. And she has her own institute, and you can take workshops and classes with her. And Sean McNiff, of course, he's our guru. I'm not expecting you to read all that, but just be aware that there are several ways people have very distorted thinking. These are automatic thoughts that we all have sometimes, and we don't know what to do with them. And then we can actually learn to correct them.
There's blaming, catastrophizing, fallacy of control, fallacy of fairness, heaven's reward, black or white thinking, about 15 of them.
So what is the danger of holding on to something like black or white thinking or all or none thinking? It's that it can not just trigger depression, it can keep you in that state. And people who are already vulnerable to anxiety, to depression, to symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder or substance use, it can be really debilitating. And the state of depression and anxiety robs the person of who they can really be and diminishes the quality of their lives. In other words, holding on to some of these thoughts can be self-fulfilling. This is what the cognitive behavior therapists have taught us. So, correcting them. We have several skills for correcting them, and this is something we teach over and over and over again. For instance, at the end of every session, we hand out a prescription sheet. The prescription has our names on it, but it's not a list of medications. It's a list of corrective skills specific to the distortion or the automatic, unhelpful thinking that we are trying to break, that particular habit. So for instance, this is black or white thinking. That means when we insist that there are only two ways to view something, it's my way or the highway. If I'm not a total success, I'm a complete failure. Where do you think we learn these? Anybody? Is it genetic? If I'm not a complete success, I'm a total failure? Is that genetic? I don't think so. Well, the jury is out, but I think we're all vulnerable to that because of what we've heard growing up. Parents, grandparents, teachers, peers, whatever it is, we have taken in and internalized these beliefs. So what we do is, the first thing is self-awareness. Identify that you have this pattern, and we teach some skills on how to identify the pattern. Then the second skill, which is critical, is examine that evidence. Is this an opinion? Is it my opinion, or is it really a fact? Is it a fact that I'm a total failure because I only got 90% and I should have got 100% right? Anybody in the room will say, I think that's just your opinion. You know, lighten up on yourself already. And then, okay, I've identified the pattern, I've examined the evidence, I know it's my opinion, now what do I do next? How do I change that? Most people and situations are shades of gray. We know that. We're just shades of gray. It's a little more complicated than the simple black or white. We're so much more rich. So we start teaching them to think in shades of gray, to think in terms of percentages. I cannot say that I'm 100% wrong if I've got 2 correct. I cannot say that nobody in this room loves me if I know that there's at least one person who cares for me. Right away, it's my opinion. Give it up. Or you can stay stuck. That's your choice, but you can always ask somebody to help you if you can't get out of those thoughts. So this is our prescription sheet. And this is the language of art.
Right. We know that some people can read and understand the message. Some people can hear it and understand the message. But some people have to get their hands around it to finally get it. And that's what we offer. And there are a lot of aha moments. I'm volunteering since 2009, and there's been enough aha moments that keep me in the game. Here's the language of art, your basic elements of art and your principles of art. Within our program, Self-Discovery Through Art, we try to have 2- and 3-dimensional artwork. We shake it up. It isn't always just drawing. We use a lot of non-objective design, not objects, no hearts, no flowers, no fish, no turtles. Sometimes we do have images, such as this face down here. Some people think that this is a horse, but it isn't. It kind of looks like one. We like to provide an experience for people who just got out of high school and people who are college graduates. Something that everybody can do and go home and feel like they've been successful. Within our program, people are socializing with each other. We have fun. we have an enjoyable experience. And it seems like, to me, we just get there from 9 to 11, and boom, we're cleaning up, ready to go. Mental filter, one of the cognitive distortions. This particular example was made by a lady named Jenny. Jenny came in and she was very depressed. Wasn't she cutting herself?
Yes, she was suicidal. Her doctor had actually discharged her because she couldn't handle this woman cutting herself all the time. She just didn't know what to do with her. So that's how I got her. And so she came into the group, and what we had to do here was, so Jenny comes into the group in that state that she is in. You know, everything is gray. Nothing is going to go right for me. Why should I get out of bed? My whole world is gray.
We had the clients, participants, come in and bring 5 or 6 items they liked. They then arranged them in a composition. I talked about what is a composition. We took a picture of it, and then we had both a black and white and a colored picture produced. They were then to put them together on a mat board, and starting with a small circle, in this case that purple color, the small circle was put on the colored picture, symbolizing
some negative event. It's my birthday and my mother didn't call me. Why should I get out of bed? It's one negative event. That's all it is. It's probably just 7 o'clock in the morning anyway, but she's decided the rest of the day she might as well stay in bed. Nothing good is going to happen. So then when you start thinking in those terms, this little blot starts to expand. And it covers your whole day. And it can take over the next day and the next day. So instead of a high colored resolution of what you found, what was sentimental and valuable and precious to you, suddenly becomes gray. All the colors go, and everything is just gray. This is the danger. So okay, so here we go again. The corrective skills, the prescription for this is identify the pattern, examine the evidence. Is it a fact that just because my son did not call me on my birthday, that my whole day is ruined? No, that's just an opinion. If I can't get that out of my head, then we teach them to call somebody and say, this is how I'm feeling. You know, it's so devastating. This child hasn't called me, or my mother hasn't called me. What can I do about it? And the friend can say, hey, listen, what about the rest of us? And this way you can reframe that I'm not going to get out of bed, nobody loves me, or my whole day is ruined, to, hey, a lot of my friends remembered. And that's how you reframe. That's what we call reframing. So look for that silver lining. So we teach our patients to look for the silver lining. And those are words they can understand because they've grown up with that. So we keep the language, the words to a minimum, but mostly expressive. The teaching is expressed through the artwork and illustrated through the artwork. You can ask yourself, we teach them to talk to yourself as if you were your best friend. What would you do to comfort somebody else who called you and said you are having a bad day? You would comfort. And they have no problem saying, oh, we would call them up and comfort them, and we would tell them what a great person they are and what a good mother they've been. It's so hard to do it for yourself. And we have to keep reminding them that they can be their own best friend. As you go through these images, I want you to notice that the themes of depression and anxiety and substance use that are revealed through these images. I might as well stay in bed and have a drink. Nothing good is going to happen to me all day anyway. Yeah? So this is how substance use and psychiatric disorders kind of go hand in hand. However, we also do the correction. They stay with us long enough, Week after week, they learn the correction. But all those distorted thinkings are triggers to relapse. And this is something we keep reminding them because we also do this in the dual diagnosis program.
For each one of the cognitive distortions, we have several ways to express it in art. The photograph took a long time, but this one, same mental filter, we get a piece of mat board, we pull out the big trunk with all of the leftover junks, ribbon, yarn, feathers, glitter, different kinds of fluorescent papers, junk. And we tell them to create on that mat board their happy day. So they're to go to the trunk and just pull out things that make them happy and to put them on the paper in some kind of a arrangement that they like. Then we take that cellophane, put the dot on it, and talk about the same thing we did when we had the photograph, Jenny's photograph.
So this is another interesting thing that we discovered. The artwork to illustrate these distortions is limited only by our imagination. Week after week after week, we can do the same talking, and they get the talking because it's repeated. But the artwork is what is varied, and they can be as creative as they want to be, as long as they're illustrating the correction.
This was one of my favorites. Overgeneralization. This is where you have your 7 absolutes. Never, always, everybody, all,
Everything.
What they did was they took tongue depressors to begin with, and they needed to, on the tongue depressor with acrylic paint, paint a pattern. All, everybody, 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 everybody. And then what they need to do is get that out of their head. Nobody loves me. I'm always the last one. And snap it and crack it and pop it. Get rid of that. That's the second piece. And then the third piece is the correction. The popsicle stick, a little thinner, make a random design, whatever you want, not a rigid design, random design. And let your thinking go out. Think different thoughts. So it's our overgeneralization triptych, stick talking.
And what are some of the ways you can get from absolutes to relative? Instead of saying nobody, it can be somebody. All, at least one person. Nothing good ever happens to me. I know sometimes some things have happened to me. So we move them from the absolute to the relative, and that kind of gives them that flexibility and the freedom that takes them out of that very rigid pattern that you see in the first one. And they get that. Okay, here's rigid, here's flexible. So even if they don't remember the words, they know, okay, this is rigid, everything was the same here, and this one was where I could do whatever I wanted. And how do I translate that into thinking? Then we place the words in their head. Always, never, those are words that don't help. They're unhelpful because all it does is make you feel miserable about yourself. But if you go to the sometimes, somebody, suddenly your memory is tweaked and you say, oh, it wasn't all bad.
Overgeneralization, the first time we did it, we had them write the words out on these old records. You can get a lot of these old records at the Salvation Army or Goodwill. After they had put all these names on there, overgeneralization, we took them outside and we took hammers and crashed them all up, got rid of that kind of thinking. From time to time, Self-Discovery Through Art has been lucky enough to have UH psych students join us. And this particular project was brought to us by a psych student. That's part of their studying with us. This has to do with maximizing and minimizing your thinking. The little, kind of looks like maybe a lion up there. Can you point to it for me, Nidhi?
Oh, here we go.
Yes. That symbolizes...
Yes, that is reality. That's the fact. Okay, because this was a picture they drew or they cut out from a magazine and then they created their own image. So that is the size. That is the fact. However, if I say, she's 20 minutes late, she's had an accident, she's in the hospital, she's in the ICU, she's on a ventilator, I can carry on and on and on and on. And I can actually distort this image into something so huge that it takes it out of reality altogether. It's no longer a fact. And that's distorted. It's not helpful. It doesn't bring you to what the fact is, so all you're doing there is chewing in your own anxiety instead of saying, hey, get a hold of yourself. I have no fact. All I know is she's 20 minutes late. Maybe she got stuck in traffic. So we teach them, let's talk about what are the other explanations there could possibly be for her being 20 minutes late. And then they can come up with all these, oh yeah, she could be stuck in traffic, her cell phone died, she stopped to call, but she has to walk because her car broke down. It could be any of those. Suddenly it's no longer, she's had an accident, she's in the hospital, she's in the ICU, she's on a ventilator. Or you can minimize it. And this is the minimized image where, oh, I don't know why the cops are making such a big deal. I just had a couple of beers. I don't know why they're stopping me. I had this. Somebody actually told me, I don't know why. Why did the cops stop me? I mean, of course, the cops have a very good reason. What were the facts? He didn't say anything about his weaving or that he was speeding. It was just that, oh, I just had a couple of drinks and I don't know why the cops are making such a big deal about it. So you see where the substance use disorders and the distortions are all part of the same picture. So conceive reasonable alternatives. We tell them, okay, what are the different, why do you think, give us some reasons why the cop stopped you. And then they might start thinking, well, actually, I was speeding. Little by little, the truth comes out. But they can, and so we go back to the facts. This is a fact. This is a distortion because it's maximizing something totally out of reality, and this one is minimizing probably your responsibility in what happened.
The fallacy of control. We set up a still life, gave everybody paper, pencils. They were all around the still life, and we said, here's how to begin, gave them some tips, and they started drawing. After about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, we said, put your pencils down, and Nidhi and I turned the whole cart 90 degrees. And they went, I'm not done, I'm not. And we said, it isn't in your control. Pick up your pencil and start again. They got into it. It was real quiet. Everybody's in the zone. 1 or 2 minutes go by, and Nidhi and I say, time to turn the cart. And we did that until the cart went all the way around. They had no control. But in the end, the artwork turned out great. They had fun doing it, and they learned about the fallacy of control.
And this is something for substance use disorders. The hardest thing for somebody to accept that I cannot accept that I cannot control my addiction or my use. This, oh, I can stop anytime. Whenever I want, I can stop anytime. However, that cycle, for them to get it, this was one way that we did it. We showed them, okay, you have no control. We are taking control out of your hand and moving the cart around just like a drink does or a pipe does. You really have no control once you get there. So that was very clear to them. However, it was not all over yet. We have another brilliant example of what they had to do.
Okay, the first one over there was all about contour cutting. Whenever I can talk about a famous artist, I do. I talked a little bit about Matisse. Matisse was good at cutting out shapes. I would hold up, say, a wine bottle and say, cut out the shape of a wine bottle. And we use what's called a foam sheet. Maybe you're familiar with it. It's very thin. It's not paper, it's a foam. And it had sticky on the back. And they would cut out the bottle, no drawing at first, just cutting it out, and put the scraps down. And then after they had done several of these, I hold up the ukulele and another vase, They had all kinds of scraps, and we said, flip your paper over now and use your scraps to create your own art. You have control over the scraps. You didn't have control over this project in the beginning, but now you have control. And one of the participants called it the Ab Scrap Project.
Sometimes in life, like one of my patients said to me, I said, oh, what do you do when you think you're going along really fine and life throws you a curveball? No, he said, it's a hairball. What do you do when life throws you a hairball? All you can do, sometimes you're just surrounded by the scraps. But these folks now know that they can pick up those scraps and make something beautiful out of it.
And this is that same project again, but another person's interpretation of it.
The shoulds. How many people know about shoulding, coulding, must have, I ought to, yeah. So shoulds is a list of ironclad rules for yourself and for others. And if you fail yourself, such as, I'm smart, I should be able to stop anytime I want. Or, I should be rich and then I know I'll attract the partner that I'm looking for. I should. If we fail ourselves, we start feeling guilty and we start beating ourselves up. The moment we start beating ourselves up, that trajectory can lead us to depression, anxiety, substance use, it goes on. I'll stop my medication. Or, if somebody else fails you, then you get really angry and resentful. My son, after all I've done for him, he should be calling me on Mother's Day. And where is he? Should. Who said all mothers should love their children? Who said all sons should love their mother or daughters should love their mother? No. Wouldn't stand up in a court of law. The judge would say, hey, where's the evidence? There's no law. So we teach them to break down these patterns. These are learned thinking patterns that are not helpful. So again, identify the pattern, examine the evidence. And here, when we tell them to examine the evidence, we actually tell them to take a piece out. These are the shoulds, all the shoulds that they can think of. They listed for us. These are their own particular shoulds. We tell them to examine a piece, examine one of the thoughts, one of the shoulds. Is there any evidence for that should? If there's no evidence for that should, move it out. And that's the second part of it. And Angie, you want to finish?
Well, that we then created that last panel where they took what they could control, what they had control over, and made a design out of it, interesting design.
Yes, and the change. So instead of I should or my son should, it would be nice if my son called me for Mother's Day. Hey, but I can call one of my friends who's a great mother and wish her. That's going to make both of us feel good. So this is how we teach them to reframe. I prefer to. I choose to ask for help because I know I cannot do it alone. Instead of saying, I am smart, I should be able to pull this off on my own. I choose to ask for help. And that's how the reframing is done. And they understand holding on to the shoulds is not really very helpful. So here's an example. I'm going back again to the black or white thinking. And here's where we want to give you a little experience of what our folks go through in terms of the art project itself for black or white thinking. Do you want me to switch over to this one?
Right. Yes. In this,
Oh, where's the value scale?
there we are.
Okay.
In this, you see the value scale 1 to 10. You can go on and on. You could have 1 to 20, 1 to 30 different values from blackest black to white. In your book that you got today, it says Art Therapy worksheet, please stick a art as therapy in there. Because Nidhi's a therapist and I'm an art teacher, but we're not art therapists. Art as therapy worksheet. It says there to complete the little value scale. And if you have your pencil and you could do that now, we'd appreciate that. We made the boxes little so it didn't take you very long. And for those of you who need written directions, that's underneath. Some can hear it and know, some can see it and do it, and some can just do it. Different ways. When I first met Nidhi and she proposed us working together, she said, I can give medication to my clients and they can go home and sit on the couch and watch TV and have taken their medication, but they're not really doing anything to help themselves. So I think if we got this self-discovery through art going and we got some of them in here, maybe they could start helping themselves. That's what we're working on. Now, you don't have to be perfect on this. You get the idea. What we're going to do is make just a little portion of one of the projects that we do for black or white thinking. And if I could ask you all now to stand up, please. Doesn't that feel good? You got to loosen your arm up. And I would like you to just scribble little scribbles in the air with your drawing hand. Woo! Scribble. Woo. And please be seated. And now, on your nice blank paper, and by the way, there's those little desktops there. You pull that up if you want to. You're going to scribble, but don't make it too complicated. If you put too many scribbles in there, you're going to have too many shapes to fill in. If you have about 8 shapes, that would be enough. Some people scribble and they're all over the place, real angular. Some people scribble and they're kind of roundy, and some of them are different, angular and roundy. So please now, with your pencil, you're all loosened up, scribble on the paper and make about 8 sections. And you don't have to go as you scribble. Nidhi. Also on the page that we provided, Art as Therapy worksheet, there are several designs here that are pattern-like designs. And what you need to do is to have within your scribble some areas of light shading, some areas of really dark shading, some areas of medium shading, and then areas of texture. And if you notice up here, your textures can either be light, dark, or medium values as well. Questions?
This is moving away from just black or white thinking to shades of gray. Just like the rest of us, all of us human beings and situations are usually shades of gray. And textures, we are rich, we are not bicolor, we are not black or white. We are textured, we have many values.
No, read Sean McNiff? There.
And as you get into this, I'm going to read you Sean McNiff's quote because it's taking us into that state of flow when you actually, when you get into it and you spend some significant time in it. And he said, there is a magic to this process that cannot be controlled by the ego. When everything seems as if it is hopeless and going nowhere, trust the process. So in this particular piece of artwork, it's the journey. It's you filling in your textures. It's you filling in your values, the shades of gray. And suddenly you realize, wow, I have so many ways I can solve this problem. I'm not stuck with just 2 ways.
And we don't compare.
If I gave you a situation and I asked every one of you to give me your opinion about how this situation could be resolved, how many opinions do you think I'd get? As many as people are in this room. So why do we limit ourselves and our thinking to just 2? Something that we learned early, and this is where what we have to get away from. And this is an illustration of how to get away from it. Because sometimes our patients may not remember those words that we say because they're just there for 2 hours a week and then they come back the next week. But during that time between sessions, they may have forgotten what I said, but they're carrying this piece of artwork that they did. And they can say, oh, that was black or white. Oh, okay, that means, and with all those textures and value scale, I remember doing the value scale. Oh, that means I can have many solutions to this problem, especially in my conflicts with my partners or with my group homemates or in school with my professor. Many ways of solving the problem.
It doesn't take too long for people to get in the zone. They're in the creative zone.
How many of you have done Zentangling? Okay, some of you know what Zentangling is. And yes, Zentangling is very similar to this, but it's become the rage now. It puts this kind of drawing in about 20 minutes or so, they say it puts you in a state of flow because you're becoming mindful of what you're doing inside each shape, or whether it's getting your value right, and you are so present to what you're doing there. That it puts you at a distance from whatever was bothering you. So that kind of detachment is critical just to get some relief from what we are experiencing, whether it's pain, physical pain, or this craving to go out and use a substance, or to go out or not go out, actually, because I'm so anxious. I can't step out of the door because I'm too afraid, or because I'm so depressed. It gives you that distance. That's what this is. It's a certain detachment, not that different from mindfulness. What's also nice about these sessions is that they have to listen, because NJ gives them a particular set of instructions. It's not random. There's a step 1, there's a step 2, there's a step 3, there's a step 4. And if you go through the steps, you more or less approximate the desired image that we are trying to accomplish in illustrating the correction. So that helps with memory. That helps with going through that sequential thinking. Oh, this is what I have to do in step 1. This is what I have to do in step 2. And we have them actually repeat it to us. Okay, what was step 1? What was step 2? What was step 3? What is this, all the steps together? What does it produce? What were we talking about this session? It's 2:15. 2:15. Go ahead. You can ask them. It's 2:15. How many of you are done or getting in there? But you get the idea. And
You can take it home.
finish it at home.
We encourage that.
So what we've asked you to do here is actually to listen to us talk, get an understanding of what black or white thinking was all about. We talked a little bit about self-awareness and identifying your pattern. We talked about examining the evidence, which is it a fact or is it my opinion? If I say, I'm a woman and I'm fat is my opinion. Somebody else might have a different opinion. But we both agree that I'm a woman. So we have to bring it down sometimes to very simple terms so that people understand the difference. Because this is not something we do ordinarily in life. We don't go around asking, is this fact or is it opinion? We generally take opinion and say it's fact. So having to teach that skill is a critical skill. And so this is a reflection. They've got to reflect on what they're doing and what they're hearing, and then connect the two. So there is the content, and then there is the artwork, and there is the connection. And there is that sense of a little bit of detachment. So whatever emotions came up during the session, they have to contain that in order to complete their artwork. We've had people, there's one called personalization. That was a tough one for one woman. She personalized everything in her life. If her son didn't call her, it was because she was the lousiest mother in the world. And over the years, she has gotten over that, because now she doesn't personalize everything. It's not so much about her anymore. And we had this guy who could not cross the street, who could not look at another person in the eye because he thought they were all talking about him. It was so hard for him to leave. After coming to us for several years now, he was hard, but he got it. He actually said, I come early for the sessions, I sit in the coffee shop, and if somebody looks at me, I say, it's not all about me. They're talking about somebody, or they're looking at somebody behind me. For him to say that to us was such a validation that people can change their thinking and as a result, their behavior. He's no longer a prisoner of his own house. He can actually sit in a coffee shop with everybody else before he comes to our group. Another guy started thinking of going back to school again. He's actually taken the step to register. This is years and years and years of feeling there's nothing more than just coming to the clinic, getting my shot, taking my medication, going to Clubhouse, counting the money there, making the phone calls. Yes, that's valuable contribution, but he was not growing. He's only 27 years old. He wasn't growing. I did not see that this was going to be the rest of his life. For me, he was something more, and he is really an artist, and he discovered that through this group. So he's going back to school. So we do have anecdotal evidence that this program does work. It's taken a lot of drill from both NJ and I, week after week. Since 2010, we've been doing this. The same concepts, but different artwork. The artwork is so varied. The message is the same, but the artwork is so varied, they get it. And now we're taking it out into the community because the people told, some of my friends who saw these, she said, hey, come on, this is not just for the privileged mentally ill, this is for all of us. You've got to do something in the community. So that's why NJ and I, we've created this nonprofit called Self-Discovery Through Art, and we're starting to bring it, operationalize it in Hilo right now. So over the course of the year, we'll have something up and running.
It isn't just a therapy group. We do take the participants out on field trips. We go to the Wailoa and look at other artists' work and have a little worksheet for the people to work on. And one of the questions is, was there any art you saw today that you can make? And some of them say, yes, I can do that too. And we encourage it.
And this is our mission and our vision, to nurture and strengthen the mental health of all people using art as medicine. Thank you. I think I'll just stay right here. This really brings to a close our program for today. And again, we want to thank you all very, very much for all of your gracious contributions. We have a lot of people to thank. I'm going to go through this really quickly. Many hearts and hands have helped to make this conference possible. Nami would like to acknowledge just a few who worked behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. Especially, I want to thank Kumi McDonald, our extraordinary executive director, who is far too modest, but blows kisses. And Willis Moore, our very distinguished Master of Ceremonies, Professor of History and Political Science at Chaminade University. Thank you, Willis.
his wife, Allison Dingley, who was here to give, Reverend Dingley, to give the prayers for us, but she is not feeling well and went on home. Of course, the spirit of Benjamin Madigan Snavely, who is bringing us all here today. And his mother, Bonnie Madigan, and all of his relatives and friends, and Kate, thanks very, very, very much. Kenneth Hansen and Allison Cow from the Queen's Day Treatment Services. We are very grateful to Queen's Conference Center staff. Not everyone gets to use this place. And they have recognized in Nami, Hawaii, an organization that is not out to make a big buck, although that's, of course, something we can talk about. But that our commitment to the community and to breaking the stigma and improving the lives of those who live with and struggle with mental illness are a valuable, valuable initiatives. So we thank Queens immensely. Dr. Deborah Kissinger, our wonderful psychiatrist, Kate Madigan, our therapist, Needy and NJ, who've just presented for us, Tom and Tina, who are gone, who are our recovery story people, and all the members of NAMI Hawaii, its board and advisors. You will find in this packet also review of the conference, an evaluation form. We would very much appreciate it if you would just take a few minutes to fill that out. If you're in a great big hurry, take it with you, and there's an envelope in here which you can use to send it back. One of the things that we agreed with Queens is their policy not to allow cash or checks or money to be exchanged on premises in situations like this. We are able to use credit card information if you're willing to share that with us, and you could put it on your evaluation form if you like, in the form of a donation, but we are not accepting any money. The conference is free. It has been very generously supported by Bonnie Madigan in her son's memory. So we are grateful to all of you. See you next year. Thank you so much for being here.